Now let's walk through the decentralized procedure, which also has some commonalities with the respective European Union procedure. The decentralized procedure for granting a marketing authorization takes place simultaneously in all member states to which the application was submitted. The deadline for decision is the same as for the mutual recognition procedure and is limited to 210 days. The general logic of activities carried out by the participants of the procedure is quite similar to those in the mutual recognition procedure. First of all, validation of Maa Dossier takes place, which shall be carried out by the reference member state within 14 days. Should any questions arise, the reference member state may furnish the applicant with a notice to provide additional information or clarification. If the reference member state validates the dossier, then the assessment of the dossier will begin. If the reference member state refuses to accept the application, the applicant and the member states concerned will be informed within 5 days of the decision being made. If the dossier is considered to be valid, then the competent authority of the reference member state will start the assessment procedure. During the assessment period, the competent authority or assessment organization may request the applicant to provide additional information or data. The response period is set to 90 days per request, and the total response period may not exceed 180 days should several requests occur. Where the applicant fails to respond to the request in a timely manner, the assessment will be terminated and the applicant will be noticed thereof. By day 90 of the assessment period, the competent authority of the reference member state, having considered the applicant's response or responses as appropriate, should draft a provisional critical assessment report and send it to the competent authorities of the member states concerned for consideration. Within the assessment period, the competent authority of the reference member state may trigger an unscheduled GMP, GCP, GLP or GVP inspection if it considers it appropriate to do so, having thoroughly assessed particulars and documents submitted within the marketing authorization application dossier. An unscheduled GMP inspection may also be triggered where the applicant applies for such an inspection due to the absence of the GMP certificate of the Union and if the competent authority grants the application for an inspection. The inspection needs to be concluded within 180 days and not later than the expected outcome of the authorization procedure. Having received the provisional assessment report drawn up by the competent authority of the reference member state, the competent authorities of the appropriate member states concerned should evaluate the provisional conclusions made by the competent authority of the reference member state. Should additional observations arise, competent authorities of the member states concerned may refer those observations to the reference member state. The competent authority of the reference member state, having considered the observations made by the competent authorities of the member states concerned, either resolves those observations within close communications with the competent authorities of the member states concerned or upholds the observations and sends a request to the applicant. When determining the deadline periods for response by the applicant, the same rules apply as mentioned previously for the mutual recognition procedure. Any communications between the member states concerned and the applicant are to be carried out via the reference member state. This means that the competent authority of the reference member state is the single contact point between the applicant and all participating competent authorities of the member states during the whole procedure. Where the competent authorities of the member states concerned do not raise any observations within the appropriate time period, the competent authority of the reference member state considers that the competent authorities of the member states concerned agree with the provisional assessment report and proceeds towards the next step of the procedure. Having duly considered all applicants' responses and observations of the competent authorities of the member states concerned, the competent authority of the reference member state draws up a draft final assessment report and sends it to the competent authorities of the member states concerned and the applicant. Having received the draft final assessment report, the competent authorities of the member states concerned should scrutinize the report and discuss all the outstanding issues and comments with the competent authority of the reference member state. Within the following 10 days, the competent authority of the reference member state should reconsider its conclusions based on the observations and comments of and the discussion with the member states concerned and proceed towards the finalization of the procedure. Within 30 days, the competent authority of all member states involved in the procedure should issue the approved documents. An additional 10 business days will be given to translate the approved documents into the official languages of the appropriate member states where the national legislation provides so. Both the reference member state and the member states concerned issue the same set of documents. However, the period of validity of the marketing authorization is determined by the date the reference member state makes its favorable decision. Where during the deliberation period at least one member state concerned disagrees with the draft final assessment report drawn up by the competent authority of the reference member state, the subject of disagreement is referred to the reference member state, other member states concerned, and the expert committee. The dispute resolution procedure is triggered in this case under the remits of the expert committee and should be concluded by the end of a 60-day period. If the disagreements are resolved, the competent authority of the reference member state proceeds towards finalization of the procedure. If the disagreements are unresolved, then the disagreed member states may make their own decisions. This is the main difference between the European Union and the Eurasian Economic Union marketing authorization procedures, since the EAEU rules allow making discordant decisions which prevent full harmonization. The member states which made favorable decisions proceed towards the finalization of the procedure. Once the final decision is made, the competent authority of the reference member state notifies the applicant of that decision within 10 days.